Welcome back, folks. This is our moment in history. A lot of the political pundits, including the president, are attacking Donald Trump for his call on a temporary ban of all Muslim immigration. However, there's already a law in the book that's been there since 1952, and super liberal Jimmy Carter actually used it against the Iranians back in 1979. Now, how rich is this?
Well, this is unbelievable. Of course, this country, when it really felt threatened, would go to any length in order to protect this country. And I'm not going to go into it. In 1924, there was a Red Scare, and they had a basic law that was passed that would keep a lot of people from Eastern Europe out of here. But the big thing was the McCarran-Walters Act of 1952. And McCarran was a right...
Which was vetoed by Truman and overridden by the Congress.
Yes, it was so rough because it absolutely cut back any immigration from Eastern and Southeastern Europe, which was primarily dominated at that point by the Soviet Union. So anybody that got out of...
and it was more of a Red Scare, communist
well,
scare
what do you mean? It was absolutely the Cold War.
But what happened in 1979?
Well, Jimmy Carter was angry because the Iranians had outfoxed him, and he was getting even with them. He was really angry with them. But the McCarran-Walters Act really put a screws down on who could come into this country. And people that came from Eastern, Southeastern Europe, and all the places that were under the rule of the Russians or the Soviets at that time, couldn't get any, they might have slipped in, but they could not get any kind of visas to come to the United States.
And so when you hear these people on TV talking about how un-American this is and how this is not our values and all that other political rhetoric, it actually is part of the law.
Well, it's a law, standing law right now. It was never changed.
And it says certain religions, certain nationalities are banned if they deemed a threat to the United States.
You see what this proves now? It doesn't mean anything. As long as we were the only country in the history of the modern world that had a constitution that we abided by, and we respected, and we adored it, and we had a Supreme Court that made sure that the Constitution was abided by. Well, that's all out the window now. In the last 8 years, part of it I blame on George W. Bush, and I'm going to make this statement.
I agree.
I think in his case it was the gray matter wasn't too high up above his eyes. He did some stupid things, but that's another point. And he created a sort of an indifference that was picked up by George Soros, who's the most evil person in this country today in my book. And he was a Hungarian Jew whose father and he ratted on the Jewish population, the rich population in Hungary, and had them murdered for their money. And then, of course, they gave him a pass and let him go out of the country.
And let's just go back a second here. Jimmy Carter threw out thousands of Iranian students out of the country and banned immigration or banned the importation of Iranians. So when they say that you can't do that against any religion or any race or any nationality or whatever, that's complete hogwash.
Well, but they're playing on the fact that nobody knows anything anymore today. Everybody.
And nobody's more liberal than Jimmy Carter, other than maybe Barack Hussein Milhouse Obama.
But you see, what you're not focusing on is the fact that you know a lot of people. You're in business. You see people. How many people really know what went on in those days? Most people don't.
That's why we're trying to get the word out.
The ignorance is absolutely unbelievable.
Okay, our trivia question. Who was the last Republican to win the White House where a Bush or a Nixon was not on the ticket?
Herbert Hoover.
1920.